Hello and welcome along to another episode of this FM19 story, The Head Coach with me, Daniel. It's season 13, episode 7, and today we play against Porto as we're back slightly earlier than planned, as we've got another big cup game, this time in the Portuguese League Cup semi-final. We keep drawing Porto in every single cup game, hopefully we'll get out on top in this one. We've done it in the league already this season, and obviously we played against them in the Portuguese Cup last time out, so if you didn't see that one, then do go back and check it out to see what's the first of a crucial doubleheader against our big rivals. And there's some absolutely disastrous news across the board, as well as a couple of new signings to meet too. You can see we're 5 points clear in the league, despite the fact Benfica is still the only unbeaten side in the division, but they have now drawn 4 games, with another one coming after the winter break. So that leaves us in a decent position at the moment for the main trophy we're hoping to win this year, but obviously there is disappointment elsewhere, and things could be just about to get a little bit more difficult. And when I say a little bit, I mean an awful lot. So let's go and have a look at the transfer centre to see what's been happening in the window so far. And the one big bit of news is there for you. The player hasn't left the club yet, but Shea Ben-Harush, the brilliant Israeli wonder kid, he had a release clause of 37 million in his contract, wouldn't agree a new deal with our director of football, and he managed to upset him as well. And now he's on his way to Bayer Leverkusen, massive money to the Bundesliga, and look at him, an absolute wonder kid, 4.5-star ability, 5-star potential, and we're never going to be able to replace a player of that standard. He wants to go to a bigger club, and my word is he going to do that now. So next year if we can get a move to Germany, Bayer Leverkusen will have Ben-Harush, and Bayern Munich have got Sapper Pap, who we obviously had the wonder kid centre half at Napoli last year. So 2 massive clubs with 2 big players, both of whom we've managed before. But thankfully we have still got his services today, and that will help us given some of the other problems we've got. But if we look at the players that have already joined and left the club, the backup right winger Hugo Silva has left. He's gone to Brighton in the Premier League, 5.5 million up front, not bad for a backup player. He's playing for them as a first team pro, so maybe he's a little bit better than we gave him credit for. 1 cap for Portugal and 1 goal, and he also did quite well for us in cup competitions. But nevertheless a decent sum of money, and our director of football's bought in 2 big players too. Firstly, it's Felipe Mejolaro. He's come in from Juventus for £7 million, a central midfielder at 25 years of age, and the Brazilian's a pretty decent rotation option, a good squad member with 3-star ability, and hasn't got any potential to improve. A decent passer though, he fits our usual quota, he's a good playmaker, and can slot into either midfield position. So a decent signing and adds to the squad, and just gives us that 4th option in midfield. But then Leonardo Felipe is a bigger signing, 11.25 million from Brazil. Again, it seems to be the favoured option for our director of football to go over to the Brazilian league, and I guess with the natural Portuguese speaking, it does make sense as a relatively good option. We're also able to get players for cheap as they've got relatively good release clauses, so it does make sense and it's working out well as another one comes in from the country. So we've got a wonder kid striker here at 19 years of age. He's got 3.5-star ability, 4.5 potential. He's not the best finisher in the world, but he's electric quick and he does everything else well, and he's a natural advance forward, the role we obviously prefer. Another one of those that will probably come in here, do well for a couple of years and then get a massive move to Germany or England, so we're just going to have to put up with it, but he's a good signing for us to have at the moment. And he's become even more important in this month. If we go and have a look at the medical centre, Ekede Gerardo picked up a torn hamstring just a couple of games ago. He's now out for 2 months as a minimum, his attributes are going down physically, and he's not going to be available till mid-March. So that's going to be a bit difficult for us, and we're going to do very well to win the league without him, as our backup striker's not very happy and he's only scored 1 goal all year. Although our director of football's bought in Felipe, he's not yet available as he's on international duty, as are a few other players at the moment, and he's not due back until the 10th of February, so we've got 3 or 4 more games without him yet. If we go and have a look at there, you can see we've got 2 players on international duty. The other one is our backup right winger from before, that's Hyo Sung, the South Korean, and with Hugo Silva leaving the club, it leaves us short in that position too. So once the left winger Ben-Harush goes, we've only got Ronald and Dembele, and Ronald's not particularly happy at the club, so we're going to be in for a difficult spell. The squad's getting decimated, so we won't stay here next season, but we need to win the league, otherwise we're not going to get a move to another club. If not, as we mentioned, it probably will be the end of the series, but I'd really like one more big move, particularly to manage one of those big 3 in Germany. But enough about that, let's go and get into the cup game. Just to let you know very quickly, as we will still be back for the league game against Porto, there is £16 million remaining, and once Ben Harush goes, we'll have loads of transfer and wage budget available, so I'm hoping he'll sign at least 1 or 2 replacements. He is trying to sign a young centre-half at the moment, but that's been on the go for about 2 weeks, and nothing seems to have happened yet, so I presume it's not going to now. But let's go and get into this game, a massive semi-final against Porto. If we go and have a quick look at the schedule, to remind you that we did lose against them in the Portuguese Cup 5th round, a 91st minute winner. It was absolutely devastating, and terrible defensive mistakes cost us the game. We've won all 4 games since though, so plenty of good news as we've bounced back. A 3-2 win at home in the league, but we nearly threw that one away as well. A 3-0 lead after 51 minutes, and 2 late goals made things a bit scary. Then away to Boa Vista in the League Cup group stage, we did nick a 2-1 win despite rotating heavily, and you can see Ashley and Tomic, 2 of the backup players, with the goals in that game. Then after the winter break, we've come back in style. A 3-0 win at Chavez. It was Shirley, De Campo and Souza with the first half goals, and then a 5-0 win at home to Aves. A brace from Bernardo Souza, including a penalty. Then Gerardo before his injury, Michel and Rivera off the bench, getting us a comfortable 5-0 win. So the games against Porto are going to be massive. We've got 2 coming up in the next 3 games, and they're going to help decide our place in the League Cup final and whether we're going to win the Portuguese Premier League. That would be a pretty decent double over here, and then we can start to focus on Europe a bit more. But let's have a look at our lineup for this one. We are just about the underdogs. Porto obviously beat us last time around, but they are missing their match winner from our last game. Penina out with a hip injury, though we're missing Gerardo, so it's just as bad. As well as him and the 2 internationals we mentioned, we're also missing Michel and Cunha. They're both out with short-term injuries, but it means we're 5 short for the match today. So aside from our backup keeper, everyone that's fit's in the squad, and we don't have any other options around, so they're the 18 that will have to do the job. In terms of our lineup, aside from the striker, it's pretty decent. We've obviously got a pretty unfamiliar centre-half partnership, so that's going to make things a bit more difficult. But we've got Fabrizio in goal, Rodriguez and Vernier the fullbacks, with Ashley and Paixão in the middle, then Schürrle and De Campo in central midfield, then Bele and Ben Harush in what will probably be his last appearance on the wings, and Souza in behind Rivera up front. We really need the striker to come into form. If not, we'll play the Brazilian once he gets here, but he's got at least another 2 or 3 weeks yet, so Rivera will have to play both games against Porto. But let's go and get into the game. We've got the other new signing, Mejalaro, on the bench, and hopefully he won't be needed today, as we haven't got many attacking options on the bench. Ryan Astley, the centre-half's lacking match sharpness, probably not ideal for a big cup semi-final, but let's get into it regardless, and hope we can do a better job against Porto than last time. It's a 4-1-4-1 for Porto, a pretty familiar team from last time. A different formation, of course. They had 2 up front in the last game. It did cause us a bit of difficulty, so we're glad not to see that. They've got Barrow in central midfield. He's the man we almost signed in the summer. Our director of football agreed a deal with the club, but he couldn't agree personal terms with the player. Carr's coming on the left-hand side for Penina. He can't be a better option than him. And Lorenzi scored a goal for them at centre-half in the last game, with Pedro the keeper performing as an absolute world beater. Hopefully he'll have a slightly weaker game today and be able to gift us a goal or 2. It's the normal 4-2-3-1 for us, and we're going to tell the lads to pick up where they left off. 2 brilliant performances since the winter break, and hopefully their motivation will reflect on the pitch. Our assistant manager is tending to be in agreement with us. We've just mentioned that Ronald's not ready to start a match. He's just back from an injury as well, and once Ben Harush leaves, he'll be first choice. He's not a particularly good player, and he's got a tendency to chip penalties too. We've looked good in training without Gerardo. I'm lying, I'm absolutely cacking playing without him, but I'm not going to say that in front of the media, as I'm sure it wouldn't land well with our players. We don't expect anything to happen in terms of ill discipline. We've got a really decent squad. They're professional lads, and I'm sure they'll do well, as we believe we've got a chance of getting the right result. It's Porto with the kick-off and Romario in midfield. He finds Smits, who gets it wide to the left. It's overhit and it's gone out for a throw-in, and with 15 seconds gone it remains 0-0. 15 minutes gone and we're back for Rodriguez with a long throw on the right. It's been hacked away as far as Henrique, and he's brought it down brilliantly for Porto. The holding midfielder who doubles up as a right back, I've no idea why he's the man they've left forward. Must have a lot of technical ability, as probably gets in one-on-one. One little pass sliced open the defence, but a brilliant save by Fabrizio. Before the throw-in, we'd only seen 2 free kicks, both for Souza, who had gone well wide or over, so nothing really to shout about so far. A quite quiet 20 minutes. If we base it on the last game, Porto were already ahead at this point, so it's probably relatively good for us that there's not been much to talk about so far. Half an hour gone, it remains 0-0, neither side have really had many chances. That's the end of the half then. There's not really been much to shout about. No further highlights after that chance for Porto. We've apparently had the better of the shots and the possession, but we've not seen anything to suggest it. So we're going to tell the lads to go out and do it for the fans. We'll trust our assistant manager on this occasion. Go out and give the fans their money's worth and guide us to our first domestic cup final. It's not the big one we were hoping for, but the League Cup's still a good trophy. One of the lads is motivated and most of them are keen, and hopefully will respond in the second half. I just feel like we're going to miss the clinical edge, particularly with both Yo-Sung and Gerardo unavailable. Both of them have scored bucketfuls this year, and that's going to make things difficult for us. It doesn't give us that flexibility off the bench either. We've got no strikers available and not much on the wings. Bernardo Sousa though with a brilliant free kick. He forces a save from Pedro to his right, and Porto survive the best chance of the match. A brilliant save by the keeper. It's the ball on the edge of the box to the Sousa. It's deflected over the bar. I was a little bit tongue-tied then. It was bobbling around all over the place, but it did end up going over. It must have come off a Porto player last, as it has been given as a corner, and the ball's headed away as far as Paxiao, who does well to win a free kick. It's a good dangerous position 25 yards out, and we forced a booking for the home side too. It is at a neutral ground, so they're not technically at home, as Sousa misses with another free kick. 4 or 5 of those he's failed to hit the target with, and one that's forced a brilliant save. Not the best game so far, but we've certainly been the better team. It's Sousa again on the edge of the box, nicks the ball from the throw-in, and he smashes it against the woodwork. A brilliant effort by the number 10, but unfortunately he just misses out, and it's away for another throw-in. De Campo finds Sousa and now Schürrle. Into Dembele, he puts it wide, trying to curl it with that left foot, but it just beats the post as well as the keeper. An hour gone, it remains 0-0, but we're having all of the territory at the moment. It's a free kick for Schürrle, 30 yards out, chips it into the box, it's headed up more than away, but now Porto can counter-attack. Long ball downfield and there's no one up there, so Vernier will just recycle it. He can go back to the keeper if he wants, or he hacks it away to Astley. He finds Rodriguez the right back, out to Dembele on the wing. He's got space to run into, but he's challenged by Henrique. He'll get the ball away on the left side. Carr brings it inside to Romario. He's got time to Smits, and now can Porto counter-attack and create an undeserved lead. This happened in the last game in the last minute. They really took it in the last second of the game. We'd absolutely dominated the 20 minutes prior, but Porto had that one just over the bar. 25 minutes to go. We'll think about subs in a moment, but in truth we haven't got much on the bench, so it could be difficult to make the right changes. 20 minutes to go, it's Vernier with a throw on the left. He finds Sousa, and now back to De Campo. Ben Hurrish in his last game for the club, not really had a good game so far, and he's looking a little bit nervy at the moment. You'd probably expect that from the youngster. But as we say that, De Campo with a brilliant guided ball over the top. Rivera gets there just before the keeper, but he heads over the bar, and it remains 0-0 with 15 to go. I'd love to be able to take Rivera off. We've got Tomic who can play up front, but he's not the best striker at the club. An 8 rating for finishing and 6 for heading. He doesn't look like the ideal answer. Sanchez can play up there as well, but again his finishing rating's not 10. I'm tempted to go for Dembele, but we haven't got a right winger on the bench either, so there's no real options for us to change things at the moment, so I'm just going to leave it as it is. 15 to go, we're not going to make changes. If we go to extra time, we'll freshen things up. We're into 2 minutes of stoppage time, and again no further highlights. Schürrle finds Sousa and now Dembele though. His shot was blocked, and on the rebound, what a finish that is. A volley from 25 yards, and there's that world-class bit of magic. What a signing by our director of football last summer, and he's taken us to the Portuguese League Cup final, and that surely makes up for the last game, although Porto are in one-on-one here, but he's fumbled on the first touch, and he's fallen for our keeper Fabrizio, who throws it out for Rodriguez. We lost the Portuguese Cup game in the 91st minute. Porto are delighted to nick it in stoppage time, but we've done the same on this occasion, as it's nicked by the Dembele volley. A brilliant goal, and it's almost one for Porto. A fantastic save for Fabrizio, point blank range from 4 yards. Why are we still playing? With 30 seconds over, and it's fallen for Sousa. Brilliant tackle and cleared, and Rodriguez gets the ball away. A fantastic sliding challenge. Lorenzi gets it to Alvarez in the middle. We're almost a minute over now. Vernier heads the ball away to Ben Hurrish, and he can bring it away calmly. We are going to nick it in stoppage time, and that's a brilliant role reversal from the last episode. The complete opposite emotions. We're through to the Portuguese League Cup final. We beat Porto 1-0, and we nick it in the 91st minute this time. A tale of 2 cup games, and a brilliant volley from Dembele seals it. A world-class strike, and we're through to the final. So not exactly what we were hoping for, but still on course for a big domestic double, and we're into the final and we'll do our best to win it, alongside the Portuguese Premier League title. The lads are delighted to be there, so let's see what the media have said about it. This time it's the same message, but we triumph, and you can see from the stats we totally deserved it. We dominated possession and the shots, and although we didn't have many clear-cut chances, and we did miss not having a clinical striker, we sneak our way through to the final, and that's the most important thing in big games like that. We'll go and have a look in a minute to see who the other finalists could be. Whether the other semi-final's been played yet or not, I just don't know. The Portuguese League Cup's got a 2.5-star reputation, so not as good as the Portuguese Cup, but it's not a million miles away. Still a good trophy to add to the cabinet, and if it is our last season, we want as many as possible. We'll deal with the press conference off camera in a moment. We don't need to talk to them when we've won the game. We know how important it is, and we'll just go and give nice positive answers. Dembele's going to get praised because he was sensational in front of goal. That one moment of magic we needed, and at 33 and on the big money, we can see why our director of football gave him it. The Portugal boss Vieira was spotted at the stadium. He's obviously watching a whole host of players from both sides. Two clubs with brilliant players, and lots of them are homegrown as well. But let's go and look at the Portuguese League Cup to see who the other finalists could be. Obviously, before we go there, we would like to avoid Benfica, so let's see who's in the other semi. It's Braga who could be the most likely opposition. They're having a really good season in the league, but we beat them comfortably last time round, so I'd be happy to play either of those sides. Obviously, we'd rather face Portimonense, but we know it's most likely to be Braga, so we have got to brace ourselves for that one. Let's look at the schedule for when that game's due to be played. The final is due to be played at the end of January on the 25th. Just 3 days later. That seems a bit strange. So he could be back in 3 days' time to face Braga. We're not going to be back for the Porto match. It does mean that the lads are likely to be shattered. And more importantly, when are Braga playing their semi-final? Because if that's in 3 days' time, they're playing tomorrow. They're only going to have 48 hours before the final. That's going to make things incredibly difficult for them. And surely we should be favourites in that case, no matter which of the two sides we play. We will go and give the lads a day rest from training though, just to make sure they're all in top condition, but it does mean we are going to be a few players short, as Ben Hurst will likely have left by then. So at this stage I would normally say let's go to the schedule and see when we'll next be back, but it looks like we're going to be back at the weekend. Hopefully we'll have another signing over the line by then, but I think all that's going to have happened is Ben Hurst will have left the club. But a cup final and a chance for our second trophy in Portugal. We obviously won the Super Cup final at the start of the year, and this is a game we should be favourites for, particularly with our opposition only getting a 48-hour break. The one bit that does worry me at the moment is it says we've got a game against Pacos Ferreira on Sunday, so I might just skip through and see if that gets moved, because that would be an awful bit of luck if it didn't. So we could have 2 games in 2 days to come, but we'll certainly be focusing on the cup final. Hopefully we can add another trophy to the cabinet just to continue our season of success. Although we're of course disappointed from the last episode, where we did miss out on the Portuguese Cup, we got our revenge on Porto today, and hopefully we'll do the same in a couple of episodes' time too. It will be a slightly longer season this one, but as we mentioned it could be the end of the save, and if we do move on it's only going to be one more big club, and one more season before we get to the end of the series. So we don't mind taking our time in this one, particularly when we've got loads of big cup games, so hopefully we can win another final at the weekend, and take our trophy haul up yet further. But if you did enjoy this episode and that fantastic last gasp win, please do put a thumbs up on the video. Let me know if you think that's fitting revenge. I'm happy enough after the last episode where we threw away a cup tie in the 91st minute to get our revenge against the same team in exactly the same minute, and the world-class strike that sealed it. I couldn't be more overjoyed with a victory. It is a bit strange in terms of the schedule, having another game in 3 days for the final, particularly as Braga will only get 2 days rest. My hope is it will get moved to Sunday, and the league game will then get scheduled later in the year. As it stands at the moment it's a bit of a joke, and obviously we're going to be a player or two short by then. Of course, let me know in the comments what you think of our director of football's January so far. With Ben Hurst, he didn't really have a choice. He's been desperately trying to get him to sign a new deal, but he wouldn't do it as he wanted to move to a bigger club, and with a release clause in his contract, Viana's hands are tied. He has brought in a couple of good replacements though, and if Ben Hurst goes, I hope he'll be quick to sign a winger either side who can help us out towards the end of the year. If need be in the meantime, Hyo-sung can move to the right, and Dembele can go over to the left-hand side, so we're not going to be terribly short in both positions, but we do need backup options that are better than Ronald. I'm really looking forward to meeting our new striker as well, but he's obviously not going to feature in the next 2 episodes, as he's not due to be back until the 9th of February, which is after the League Cup final and the game against Porto in the league. Subscribe to the channel for daily FM19 content from my 2 long-term stories, this one The Head Coach, where we've obviously got a few massive episodes coming up, and hopefully we'll be able to add some more trophies to our illustrious career and get ourselves in that worldwide Hall of Fame. Then there's also our one club story with Torquay United, where we're trying to take them to the top of English and European football, and we're coming to the climax of season 14 of that one, trying to get into the Europa League for the very first time. There's also 3 episodes a week from my Cricket 19 career, every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday at midday. A massive thank you to all of you that have been following along with that one, as well as our 10-part Ashes Test playthrough beforehand. Then our weekly content from Snooker 19 continues every Friday at 4:30, but a massive thanks for watching this one and your continued support with the series. I really do appreciate it, and I hope to see you next time for another big episode as we play in our second cup final of the season.